It's rare that we have been in this position as Detroit Lions fans where not only are we ahead in the division, I saw a tweet that the Detroit Lions are off to their best start in 40 years. 40 years. That's almost my entire life, give or take a few years. And it's weird. It's still something I'm getting used to, but I can dig it. I can dig it. Seeing other fan bases crumble, seeing other fan bases rant, and enjoying their suffering to some extent, reasonably, not being a troll, but enjoying it, but also remembering what it feels like. That leads me to the topic of this video. Because of those reasons, because of the Lions being off to their best start in 40 years, the Lions being 2.5 games in front of the Green Bay Packers in a division that there is absolutely no reason and no way that we lose, in which we've never won, that I believe that the Detroit Lions will be buyers at the trade deadline. Now, you have heard me talk all offseason long, from Quinnen Williams to Jeffrey Simmons, unrealistic versus realistic, probable versus possible, and now we are in the 3 weeks removed or until we get to the trade deadline. Last year at 1-6, we fire our defensive back coach. We trade away TJ Hawkinson at 1-6. From that moment on, we go 8-2. And since that moment, we are 12-3 over the past 15 games. As a matter of fact, the Detroit Lions, I want to say, have the third highest winning percentage since week 9 of last year. And Brad Holmes has the ability at this moment to make a move for someone that's going to take us over the edge. It's rare that we've been in this position, that we could have been buyers at the trade deadline. We were sellers. We didn't make a move. Year 1, we picked up Josh Reynolds as he was waived, and we were first in the waiver wire. Year 2, we send people off. But I know why we sent off TJ Hawkinson. You're welcome, Minnesota. Thank you so much for being those guys, because we knew what was happening, and that was we're not going to deal with you, so we're going to get something for you. And I think that there are other teams that feel that way as well. I had a debate with a friend of mine, and we were talking about the Washington Commanders and why I think Chase Young is a prime candidate to be traded this offseason or by the trade deadline. And I'm going to go ahead and put it. I've got a final answer on who I would want. My final answer would be, if we trade for someone on the defensive line, a realistic trade, my final answer is Chase Young. It was Brian Burns for a very long time. But after seeing the amount of pressures that Chase Young, the ability to be a pure defensive end, which is something I've been screaming about since I've been on this platform. Brian Burns is not that, but Chase Young is. Chase Young currently have 3 sacks, and he is top 5 in pressures. Aiden Hutchinson, Nick Bosa, Max Crosby, someone else, and Chase Young. How fitting would it be? Ohio State, Michigan. Chase Young, Aiden Hutchinson. Dominance, right? That is a needle-moving move. At wide receiver, Mike Evans. Now, we're about to play Mike Evans. They're not going to trade him. Y'all have to realize that these people get to walk or be franchise tagged at the end of the year. If they get franchise tagged, do they want to play? Chase Young, his 5th-year option wasn't picked up. Mike Evans, he wants to remain a Buck, but it's business. He knows that. Chase knows that. So my final trade deadline acquisitions that I would like the Lions to see, obviously we can't get both, right? And picking one of them is extremely hard. If I had to make a decision between the two of those guys, I'm going to pick Chase Young. Our receiving core is doing fine. It could be great. But I'm thinking about how good the defense is and how takeaways. So that defensive line could make the defensive job a lot easier. I would love to have both, but if I had to settle, I'm going to pick Chase Young. He's got more of an upside, seeing as how he's 24, right? Neither one of these guys are on contracts next year with their, so we're not going to inherit that. I truly believe, now I could be wrong. I could be Brad Holmes, does absolutely nothing. But I think, and again, I keep going back to this. The last time we saw him him and John Dorsey, they're sitting there, and Brad Holmes says, we're trying to compete. A lot of y'all was saying year 3 of a rebuild. He's saying we're trying to compete. We came out the gate. We beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You should have saw him on the sideline. We should have beat Seattle. I'm not going to forget about that, especially based off last year and what happened there. And we have not lost since. And again, out of the last 15 games, the Detroit Lions are 12-3. If you put that in a season, right, you're talking about first seed territory, which is a conversation we'll have in a different video. So my final answer is one of the two, Chase Young or Mike Evans. Would love to get both. My kind of runner-up would be Brian Burns, only because I just truly see that defensive end. Brian Burns wouldn't be a bookend to Aiden. He would be coming off, standing up, all that other stuff. In the linebacker position, probably more. They would use him like that standing linebacker. Still a dog, still a stud, but I've made my final answer. My final answer is either or Chase Young or Mike Evans. By some miraculous feat, he gets both. But I think buyers at the trade deadline, one of those two. You let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what you would like to see, if you would like to see anything. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions. It feels good. It's almost like the Twilight Zone right now.